Hi, I'm Lisa Curcio, and I would love to welcome you here to Lisa's Stamp Studio. I've got a fun fold card for you today that includes a pop-up, and it looks a little bit like a book card. I think you're going to love the simplicity of this, but the big wow factor. As always, you're going to find a free project sheet linked down for you in the video description below. That's going to lead you to the pictures, the cutting dimensions, and all the supplies, not only for the card I'm going to demonstrate for you tonight, but the others I have to share with you as well. And tonight I've got a bonus project for you because I'm using brand new products that include frames and flowers. And I can't wait to share this with you. Now, we love to interact with you tonight during the premiere. So to log into your YouTube account, you'll need your Gmail address, and please do so. That's going to allow you to chat with us live. We're with you right now in the live chat, as well as leave a comment on the replay. I come back and I read every single one, and your feedback is very important to me. Now, here with me in the live chat, you'll see that name in blue, Gina Hawley. Gina is my daughter. She works with me here at Lisa's Stamp Studio and an avid stamper. So we're here to interact with you, get to know you, and of course, answer your questions. Now, if you love fun fold cards, paper crafting, and meeting new friends, I have an event to share with you. It is our annual party with the Stamp Studio. This is an in-person event, and we would love to have you travel to meet us here in the Tampa Bay, Florida area. The event will be on Saturday, August 3rd. It's a full fun day. It's going to include 2 simple fun fold cards for make and take projects. I have prize patrol. There's going to be demonstrations, and you're going to get an opportunity to take photographs with one another. But it gives us a chance to meet you and you a chance to meet each other. We hope that you'll mark it on your calendar, but head over to lisastampstudio.com. And when you just start to scroll a little bit, a pop-up is going to come up with all the information. You'll also find it underneath online events in the red menu bar of my website. We cannot wait to meet you. All right, we're ready. Let's get started. I'm using Stampin' Up products for tonight's premiere, but remember, you can use whatever you want. I'm going to be featuring some brand new products tonight that I think you're going to really enjoy. The base of this fun fold book card uses a standard 4 1/4 by 11 piece of cardstock. I did score it in half already at 5.5 inches. This is pretty basic if you've already been card making. I'm going to go over those creases on all my pieces with that bone folder to create those nice crisp edges. The crease is going to be on the left-hand side so that the book card will open up this way. I'm going to decorate the front first, and then we're going to move to the components of the inside for the pop-up. I'm using the brand new Frames and Flowers Designer Series paper. Now, this is a little bit of a special package. This package includes 3 sheets of 12 by 12 double-sided pattern paper. And I gotta see that I've cut quite a few of these pieces up already. But the beauty of Stampin' Up is that double-sided pattern, which means you're gonna be able to use these all year round. And of course, outside of the theme the package was intended for. This is the other one. One of the other amazing things about this package is this. You're going to get 2 sheets of die cut elements and 1 sheet of frames. Now, mine are inside the cello bag because they're beautifully laser cut and they came out very easily. But I didn't want them to get bent, so I just put them inside a little bag, and I have all the pieces here. Now, there are so many that I'm not going to bore you by showing them all, but you're going to get frames and layering pieces and all kinds of elements. Now, here's the beauty of this. You can whip out cards and scrapbook pages so quick. Wait until you see how quick this comes together. I've pulled out some elements here from the Frames and Flowers Designer Series paper. These are the ones I kind of just showed you. Now, I will tell you there are very few duplicates. So this card is going to be slightly different than the one in your project sheet, and I will share it here tonight during the premiere as well so you can see the alternate. I'm going to come back here to the card front. We're going to keep this really simple, but it's going to still be a wow. This is going to be my focal point for the front of my card. And I'm going to take my other elements, I'm going to build this up. And of course, we're going to want a greeting. So I'm going to take this one, I'm going to kind of tuck it behind here, staying within the perimeter of the card base because you want to make sure it gets inside the envelope really easily. I'm going to take the next one, I'm going to tuck this one up underneath here. I like to lay out all my pieces first because if you're like me, you get really excited and then when you go to adhere it all, it doesn't all fit, right? So I like to take my time and make sure that I position it first. I'm going to take another one. Let's add some more pieces here. And I just love that layering effect to give this some dimension. And let's take one more. I think we'll add this one here towards the bottom. Now there's one other tool in my studio that I absolutely love, and that's the Take Your Pick tool. It has a putty tip on one end, and it has interchangeable dial out tips here. Now you can see how gunky that is. I love to use this up underneath when I have a mistake. I love the paper piercing tool attachment on this end because you'll see me use it quite a bit, and it also comes with a dual-ended stylus tool that fits inside. It includes a putty refill, but the putty tip is going to help me kind of maneuver these pieces without having to use my hands and help me with the layout process of my card. Now, once I have this where I like it, I can start assembling. Now, if you're like me, you're probably thinking, well, how the heck are you going to get this to be exactly like this when you're done? And that's where my famous little trick of press and seal from the kitchen comes into play. Now, one side is very sticky. You'll see that it sticks together. Once you have this laid out exactly where you want it, take the press and seal and you're going to put it right on top. Now, you're going to have to work kind of quickly because it's going to have a little bit of static between the press and seal and the paper. But then once you've pressed it in place, go ahead and flip it upside down and then just peel off the backing on which, of course, you laid it all out. Do you see what's happened now? We've got one entire piece. Because I want this all elevated on dimensionals, it's going to allow me to put the pieces together at one time. So double duty. I'm going to go ahead and use that Take Your Pick tool. I have very arthritic hands and I find peeling very, very challenging and not only that, painful. So this is kind of like my third hand. I'm spreading out the dimensionals, which are just double-sided pre-cut pieces of foam tape. Now you're also going to see here that there are some areas here where these are not going to fit. So I'm going to bring in my mini dimensionals and you can see they're well loved here in the studio. Small, and you can even cut them smaller if you want, which I think I'm going to have to do for this one. So let me show you what I do. I have a dedicated pair of scissors here in the studio for sticky projects, and that's what this is. Here, where the dimensionals are full, I just cut them in half while they're here on the paper. That smaller size is going to work really favorably for me when I get to these little tiny areas because I want to make sure that this is not going to lift during mailing, and I certainly want to make sure that it's going to hold up coming in and out of the envelope. Once these appear balanced, we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove the press and seal. So I'm going to flip it over, and I'm very carefully going to lift the press and seal off of the paper. Now, I said whoop because this one obviously wasn't integrated well. What I would do to be sure that I'm within the perimeters of my card base is I would go ahead and just lay it down on here. Now, there'll be some areas that are a little bit floppy, so I'm going to come in with my liquid glue, and I absolutely love my precision glue press. We'll talk about that in just a minute. That actually even extends my reach. And there's another little spot here. You can see how small it is. My hands are small, but the one reason I absolutely love it is because of those arthritic hands. Now, when I first got it, I was skeptical because it's a trigger, and I thought, is that going to be painful for me to squeeze? But I found out that it's not. I put the multi-purpose liquid glue sold in my online store inside the empty bottle. You're going to see here that there's a precision needle tip, which means it's going to come out really, really tiny. The multi-liquid purpose glue's bottle tip is much wider, and I find that it comes out too abundantly. So now once you have this all loaded inside of here, I want you to watch my fingers as I trigger this. The first pump, you're going to squeeze just a tiny bit, and do you see how little my fingers are moving to get the glue out? This is going to allow me to place glue in places where A, I don't want a lot, and B, I can control the flow. Now, the great thing about the stand is there's a pink plunger down inside, and you might even see that it has a little glue in it. And here's the beauty of this product. The needle tip is going to create an almost airtight seal against that plunger so that when it's sitting inside the cradle all day out on my work surface, it's not going to allow the glue to clog. Now, it has a very pretty and impressive needle tip. Now, this just gets screwed onto the end when you're all finished at the end of the day. I don't recommend leaving it out overnight because obviously then you risk any air getting inside. But I absolutely love this and cannot craft without it. I'm finding myself using lots more liquid glue than I ever have before, which is always a lot less expensive than adhesive. Here we are back to our pieces. Let's go ahead and turn that upside down. I'm going to brace the paper, and I'm going to use that Take Your Pick tool now with that paper piercing tool attachment. That's going to help me wrangle off those little pieces so I don't have to peel those with my fingers. I'm going to turn this now, and I'm going to brace here because that's a small area, and I'm going to remove those mini dimensional backings as well. Coming back here to the card base, I'm just going to situate this where I originally had it, make sure everything is going to fit within the perimeter of the card, and then we'll tack that in place. Now we've got some elevation, which is going to create a really impressive feel to the card, but we didn't have to stamp or die cut anything. It's the beauty of this. But it needs a greeting. There are numerous colors here inside the package, but I picked up that light pink color, and I chose the petal pink cardstock. You could also use the peach pie. That'll work very, very well. Of course, any of the greens. I've cut a strip of cardstock here, and I'm turning this into a sympathy card. It's the hardest card for us to make, isn't it? But I needed stronger color ink to stamp the greeting on so it'll show up nicely. So I'm using the Pretty in Pink. Now here is the beauty of Stampin' Up! Products is that color coordination, which means the ink pad is going to match the cardstock and the designer paper and all of the embellishments. From the stamp set, Something Fancy has a huge morid of greetings for both the outside and the inside of your cards. I took out with Deepest Sympathy. I'm going to ink that up, and we're going to stamp that here in the middle. Now I decided I wanted to create banner tips on both ends of the cardstock. For this, I'm going to use a pair of scissors. I've got my paper snips here, and the best tip I can give you is to make the slit visually in the center first. The longer the slit is, the deeper the tips are going to be. So I'm just going to make one, this is probably about 1/2 inch. Once that slit is made now, you're going to come to the outside corner, to the center, and you're going to connect it at the slit. And I'm going to do the exact same thing now on the other side. Now, if you're like me, you've got this. Be careful not to pull. Come back in with your scissors and just give it a snip. We're going to do the exact same thing now on this side. By creating the slit first, you're going to have perfect banner tips every time. I'm going to flip this upside down as well, and I'm going to come back to those dimensionals because I'm going to layer this. I like to start in the center, and then I'll work on opposite ends because you want to make sure this is balanced for mailing. Let's remove the backings. This now is going to go across the center of this piece. I still thought it was a little bit plain. It needs an embellishment, so let's go ahead and let's work on that after we get the whole fun fold put together. For the inside pop-up, you're going to need 2 pieces, and I like to use the same color that I used for the base of the card. Again, this is Pretty Peacock. I've got one of the pieces here, and we're going to do very simple score lines. I love the paper trimmer with Stampin' Up! I've tried them all. It includes both the scoring and the cutting blades. They navigate up and down out of the way, which means you don't have to take them in and out of the trimmer. That clear cutting guide is fantastic. And of course, for those bigger projects, we've got an extendable arm. The first score line is going to be at 1 inch. You're going to see that there's a ledge here at the top. There's also one at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and line that up at the 1 inch mark, making sure my cardstock is nice and straight here across the top ledge, and we're going to score. I'm going to slide over to 2 inch, and we're going to do the same thing. 3 inch, and the same. And then the last one here at 4 inches. I'm making sure I'm staying nice and straight. Now, before you joined me, I went ahead and I did the other one as well, so we have both pieces here. I'm going to bring in that bone folder because we're going to crease up on these. Doesn't matter if you start on the end or in the center, so I'm going to start here on the end. This is a good time to check the ends to make sure that your score line was nice and straight. If it's slightly crooked, you can adjust that and then reinforce it with your bone folder. And we're going to work our way all the way across, checking each one of these to make sure that they're nice and even on both sides. And of course, the last one is here. Again, making sure that it's nice and even. I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to do the same thing on this other piece. You can see now that they're identical. Let's work on one at a time. We're going to create these pieces into a pillar or a column so that they're going to come together. Let me just simulate that for you so that you can see it. So all I did was roll this on top of each other, and you're going to see that the score lines are going to come together to create a nice equal space here at the back, which means this is going to be perfectly aligned. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to place adhesive here on the inside back tab. So again, I'm flipping this closed and adhesive is going to go here. I'm going to place my silicone craft sheet underneath me. Adhesive, liquid glue, and hot glue will not stick to this, which means it's going to keep my work surface nice and clean. You'll find this in my online store. Now, if it's easier for you, what I want you to do is I want you to open this up and lay it flat. I'm going to take my Stampin' Seal Plus and I'm going to create 2 lines. I prefer this over the liquid glue because it's like Hercules strong. Now that we've got our adhesive on, we're going to flip it over. And I want you to fold it at the second score line. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The second one, you're going to fold it flat. This is the easiest way to create pillars or columns. And then you're going to take this end and fold it on top. This is also a great time. You're going to find out how well you scored, because if you have some buckling there, you're going to want to crease that out. Now, when you're finished, it's going to look like this, but then this is going to pop out. The reason we want it to be like this is that this entire card will fit in a standard A2 envelope. We're going to do the same thing on this one. You're going to see that this is going to come together. So our adhesive is going to go here. I'm opening it up and we're going to apply the Stampin' Seal Plus. I like 2 rows. I'm flipping it back over, second score line, fold it, and then crease down on the cover and press. And then once again, you'll see we have the other piece. You can see they're identical, but they're going to go on opposite sides. So all you're going to do is you're going to take one and you're going to turn it so that when you're finished, it's going to look like this. Now you might be thinking, how are we going to get this on the card base? That's the easy part. I've got some of that beautiful designer series paper here that I just shared with you and a layer of basic white cardstock. Now I'm going to put these together. For this, I'm going to go ahead and use liquid glue, and that's because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room before it dries. I like to use the precision glue press for this simply because I can get a nice small bead of glue close to the edge, and that's going to be important because it's a fun fold. I'm looking now to create that very tiny 1/8 of an inch border all the way around the very best that I can. You're going to see my fingers are staying up underneath that paper because I'm not going to commit until I am sure. So we've got one, and I did the other one ahead of time. So we've got one for each side. We're going to come to what I'm calling the left column. We're going to take one of these, and that's going to get adhered here. So I'm going to turn that upside down. I'm going to bring in the precision glue press once again. By the way, you need this tool. You'll thank me. You'll find that precision glue press linked for you on my website under Shop, My Favorite Things. Remember, this collapses. And this is going to dry quickly. So I want to make sure that I've got a nice little border of that pretty peacock cardstock showing all the way around. Just do the very best that you can. And again, liquid glue gives you a little bit of wiggle room, which we all need. And then you can press that in place. That's your left column. We now have the right column, and we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to flip that over. And again, we're going to use the glue press and place it around the back. I'm going to flatten this out to make it easy for my hand. And again, we are going to create that border. Now we have the right and the left. We're going to put these off to the side for just a minute because the next step is going to have to be to come back to the card base. Remember that those columns, that pop-up feature is going to get implemented into here. So if you want to put anything here, now is the time to do that. I've cut basic white cardstock. Again, all the cutting dimensions are inside that project sheet. That is going to go here. But if you want to decorate it, now is the time to do that. So I've got another element here that I think is going to work well. I was a little concerned that maybe this would be too tall once it came in and out of the envelope. So I lined it up and then I measured and I was like, nope, there's just enough room there that this is going to fit in the envelope perfectly. Coming back to that glue press and that silicone craft sheet, we're going to add a little bit of liquid glue here around the perimeter. And then again, we're going to work very, very closely here. And again, with that wiggle room, that's going to make sure you get perfect placement of your element. I'm going to place this one on the right-hand side because that'll give me a little bit of room to leave a personal message for this card. And again, I'm using my liquid glue. Never thought I'd like liquid glue as much as I do now because of that precision glue press. It makes it so easy for my hands. I'm going to look all the way around and we're going to press that in place. The area here to the right is not important because the pillar is going to eventually get mounted here. Now on this side, I went ahead and I had adhered that same element here, but I want to add a small sentiment. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring in that pretty peacock ink once again. And this time I took the inside greeting from a different stamp set just because I love to mix and match. We make the investment, so bring all your stamp sets into the play when you're making any project. And this is from Unbounded Love. This one's photopolymer, so I'm going to ink that up. And then I'm going to stamp that this time more towards the center. Coming back here to the card base, we're going to go ahead and adhere this now to the inside left side. Once again, I'm looking for that margin to try to make them equal. I look across the bottom and the top just to do my best, and then we'll tack that in place. Do you remember the columns? I'm going to show you how we're going to flatten them out. You're going to push down this way so that this edge here is going to be visible. The same here. But I thought those could use a little decorating because of what we're going to do next. So I'm going to come back here to the silicone craft sheet. This is the same designer series paper pack. I'm just using the opposite side for coordination. We're going to add our liquid glue. I've created a layer of basic white cardstock here, and then we're going to attach this. I did the other one ahead of time. What we're going to do now is we're going to add liquid glue to the back side of this panel. I'm turning this to make it easy for my hand, and this is going to get attached here. You're looking to try to keep that same equal margin all the way around. This now is the left one, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Now it's time to add the pop-up mechanism. We are back here at the card base. Let's start with the left one first. I'm going to go ahead and pop this up so that you can see it. This, obviously, the back side is where the glue or adhesive is going to have to go. To make it easier for you in the video, I'm going to take my silver pencil, you guys all love this, and make a squiggly line there so that you have an indication of where the adhesive is going to go. You're going to be able to find this pencil linked for you on my website under Shop My Favorite Things. You guys love that pencil for marking your own projects. The reason we've marked this is because we're going to use the Stampin' Seal Plus again. And again, remember, this collapses. Very, very important that when you go to put this on, that you follow me carefully. So we're making it flat. I'm coming in with the Stampin' Seal Plus, and I'm working within that area that we put the pencil line. With the adhesive here on the back, you want to make sure that this panel is nice and flat because it's this outside edge that's going to meet the edge of this one. So make sure that this area is visible. I'm looking to align the top and the bottom the very best that I can. I'm very lightly going to leave it there just to tack it and just check to make sure it's as flush as possible. And then we're going to press. Now we're coming to the right side. We're going to pop this up so that you can see it. The adhesive is going to go here. So I'm going to mark it for you so that you can follow along. Just like we did before, you're going to want to collapse this so that you can see this outside layer. And we're going to flip this upside down. We're going to add 2 nice long layers. Now that the adhesive is in place, make sure that this area is exposed, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to line the top, the side, and the bottom the best we can. It's lightly sitting there because I want to check to see if the top and bottom and the sides are even, and they are. And then I'll press that in place. Now what's going to happen, as we open the card, these are going to pop up. So you're going to see one here and one here. It's going to come like this. I want to talk to you about the front. You might be thinking it's not going to fit in an envelope. It will. I wanted an embellishment. And while I didn't have the perfect one to go with my petal pink, I found that these in color shimmers were perfect. So I'm using the peach pie one here. They have glue dots already on the back, so I'm going to pick up one of them here, and I'm going to take that large one and place it up here, and then I'm going to take a small one, and let's place that here. I like to gravitate the eye all around the card, and then another one here. Because of the glue dots, I'm going to press them in place. Do you see what's happened to the card? Watch. It's gotten nice and thin for an envelope, hasn't it? So we still have our finished side, but what's going to happen for display is all this is going to pop up. So it's going to be freestanding. Now you might be thinking, how am I going to sign it? Well, this side here is going to pivot to the left as well as this one pivot to the right. So you'll have room to leave a bigger message. If for some reason you need more room, remember you can add a piece of basic white cardstock to the back to leave a longer message. As you can see, these panels are going to shift to allow you to write and to mail the card. So again, these are collapsing forward, and then the card will close and it will fit inside a standard A2 envelope. Now it's a little thicker than normal, so you're probably going to need a little bit of extra postage. Now let me show you the card that I created with this exact same format before you join me. The pieces, like I said, inside the frames and flowers are slightly different. Now there are some duplicates. So you'll see that this one has a fuller area here versus this one. The designer series paper on this one is slightly different, and I use different pieces here on the inside. Really quite pretty, isn't it? All right, so those are 2 samples, but I have several others to share with you. The next one uses the Citrus Blooms bundle, the stamp set and coordinating dies. You'll get both. And here is the card I created. Now here's the best part about this too. The designer series paper does all the work. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but there is a layer here of vellum of a decorative frame that comes in that die set. So there's 2 sheets of dies in there. This is all designer series paper called Mediterranean Blooms. And I just fussy cut around there, added that layer, really pretty with some simple embellishments. This is my only stamped piece here. Now on the inside, you'll see that it's flat for mailing. Here are our columns. So these are obviously going to pop out once again. More designer series paper here. Don't you love all the coordination? It's so, so pretty. Just like before, you're going to be able to find all the cutting dimensions, multiple pictures of each card, and the supplies in that free project sheet. But I've got one more for you. This uses Round We Go, beautiful die set and really fun stamp set. So this makes a rosette. So it's actually going to die cut and create all the creases for you, and all you'll have to do is just put it together to get a 3D rosette. But since I knew I was mailing my card, I wanted to make sure that I didn't use the 3D project because of course that would get pretty smashed. But I absolutely love how this came out. Now, I'm going to tell you when I open it, this is going to take you just a little bit longer than these, which use a lot of designer series papers. But I want to show you the power of inks, stamp, and paper. There isn't any designer series paper here. I use the images from the stamp set to stamp my pinwheels. I stamped my background in the Daffodil Delight ink. I embossed a simple greeting, but you could have easily eliminated that and just stamped it in a color on colored cardstock or white cardstock. For the inside of this card, this is all stamped images. This is white cardstock. I stamped all the pinwheels on. I did use my Misty for this. That stamp positioning tool is the bomb to try to get perfect lined up images every single time. Did a small greeting here and then a collapsing it so you can see you have room for another sentiment on the inside and room to write and sign. Absolutely love this one. Really, really pretty. Took a little bit more time, but I think it's gorgeous. Now you've got numerous samples to choose from, and as always, I love to know your favorite. Pop down right now in the comments and tell me which one you favor. Your feedback is very important to me. As always, make sure you grab that project sheet. I know I sound like a broken record, but we get tons of emails and comments asking, where is it? Where is it? If you look underneath the video title, it's called the video description. And if you click the word show more, it's going to expand the text. Scroll down, it'll say cutting dimensions, and you can click on that link, which will lead you over to my website where you can see everything and then print it. If you haven't heard about Stamp Studio memberships, I'm here to give you all the information. There are 2 levels. Level number 1 includes a tutorial project to your inbox. I designed this project exclusively for members. And guess what? None of the photos or the tutorials are watermarked. So if you are a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator looking for new ideas for classes and clubs and events, I've got you covered. We would love to have you join us for $5 a month. There's also level 2, which gives you everything in level 1, but a monthly fun fold card as well, product prize patrol, and a discount in my PDF tutorial library over on my website in the red menu bar titled Memberships. You'll get all the details there. While you're on my website, make sure you click that shop button and shop Stampin' Up! For all the latest promotions and sales. You don't want to miss anything, and we love keeping you in the know. So scroll all the way to the bottom of my website and fill out that little form. That's going to allow us to send you a weekly free e-newsletter. So you are always in the know what's going on. And of course, I add extra inspiration for you every single week. My website is full of tons of ideas for you, so shop my PDF tutorial library as well. All of those are available for immediate download. I thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day, everyone.